Greetings. Hey, it's Susie Q. I'm on the road again, like Willie Nelson. So, anyway, so I had this inspiration earlier this morning related to my daughter, and I love it when my kids connect with me, and sometimes I call them like a few times, or send text, or sends videos through text. So I like all these beautiful states of consciousness that are really supporting our beautiful divinity. And the more that we kind of look at this, I mean, so sometimes when people are in a kind of a different experience, maybe a person is kind of affronting you or saying you're bad, or you're not good enough, or all of these things. But and even with my daughter, just talking about it this morning, I thought, well, the moment that a person has something going on internally for them, is they start kind of using the thoughts and the impressions and the reasoning of why they're trying to affront another person. Let's just say the other person is just kind of like a bystander. But when we really kind of dive into a deeper state of consciousness with this beautiful energy, is that we just kind of know that when a person that's maybe in anger or hostility or grief or any of these things, and all of these, there's no judgment either, right? There's no judgment with that. But we start noticing that the moment that person starts kind of spouting out when there's another person there, is that we kind of find that when a person, it's one thing to think a thought, it's a one thing to have these different impressions, it's a different thought, or way of looking at life. But sometimes you feel like you need to, like, tell somebody or be mad at somebody. And even if it wasn't even about them, you start noticing that uh, those those beings or the people are basically just kind of yelling or creating a trigger within their own self. And so when we look at it in a deeper kind of deeper way of understanding, is that when a person has something where they're getting engaged and start triggering another person, even the other person may not even know what they're even talking about, but we start noticing through the energies, is that the moment that they, of course, feel it, experience it, have all these sensory load conference opportunities, they just start just pounding it out. And what I've found for myself with people that are just like wanting to trigger another person, even if the person was kind of a bystander or just actively listening, and then they may get snared up in that energy. I just kind of acknowledge that when a person says it out loud, okay, you could have internal energies going on, but when you say it out loud, it's kind of like a blessing, or it could be a miracle, or it could be something that you're putting out into your field. So this would be the person who is affronting another person, and that when, as soon as they start saying all this, you're wrong, you're bad, I'm really angry about you, or what was that guilt about, or whatever that, whenever you start putting out that energy, it grows. Okay, it's almost as if you're like working with a portal or vortices, and then you might be like going into one a portal of insight, but then the more that you go and keep talking about it, saying what is not right, when you're saying this is not right, but then they continue to process and possibly trigger another person. And so when we're looking at these times when people are like kind of like not 100%, maybe they are in a different state of consciousness, and it's not really working for them, for the one that's kind of accusing another person, even if they don't even know what's going on, is that we start noticing that, again, the moment that they say it out loud, they can internally take it on. And at the internal part would be maybe something stored in some part of your body. It could be stored in your thoughts. It could be stored not in just in your body, but in the other fields of consciousness that we have. And so the best that we can do when a person is going off, and you're just like kind of going, what? You're like, what are you talking? I don't even say anything. Just acknowledge that that person is creating more portals, more opportunities to continue the crazy story. And maybe the story was bad, maybe it was bad, but the more that you give life to it, give more breath to it, it just keeps growing. And again, if there's somebody else that you're kind of yelling at about, you're like, they don't even know what's going on. So when we're starting to kind of like engage a little bit deeper with some of these ways of looking at life, and even with the portals or these vortices, you could say you've got one portal of love, one portal of happiness, one portal of I'm a stinker. And so the more that we feed into what we do want, with the happiness and the goodness and the healing of the body, we begin to recede from the consciousness, from other portals or vortices, and we start just receding from some of those states of consciousness that are triggering their own self. So if you're thinking about it, like if somebody is really affronting you, it's really about you. You're affronting your own self, and you're continuing to grow more of the story that what you don't want. It's like you don't want it, but you keep talking about it. All of this is great. People like to go and get more understanding about things, and they start kind of realizing it's not working. Well, stop telling the same story. And so even like sometimes when I'm kind of out and about, sometimes people like in a weird way. Sometimes I'm weird, right? And then we start noticing that I continue to smile, and I continue to bring in positive affirmations and bring in other kind of fun ways of looking at life. That's kind of what I do. But sometimes, this is a big lesson for me, because it was kind of an aha moment with my daughter, and I'm like going, guys, it's the moment a person that says something mean to you, it means they're actually giving more. They're giving more energy into what is not right. What is not right now. Okay, but that's for the person who is challenging another person, when the other person is like, I don't. You're kind of like sitting there like, what? But you're like, what? I don't even understand what you're talking about. But some of these energies, I think, are really powerful, just to engage and be alert. If somebody's doing that to you, but just know that there's probably some grief. There could be some anger. There could be some. Missed opportunities. There could be anything that's coming through. The best we can do is we can hold space for people to help them feel lighter in their body, to feel more loved of themselves. I mean, that sense of love of self. I think a lot of times when people are doing that, confronting other people, it's like all of a sudden, person comes in the door and they're like, you're kind of like being attacked verbally or emotionally, and then all of these energies are so ripe right now. I think really ripe for all of us to take a look at how we speak out loud, and more so talk about the speaking that you do with your inward consciousness, with your words, your thoughts, your actions, your deeds, and see if you can go a little bit lighter, start feeling more loving, more compassion, more inspired, more harmonious, and more transcendence in your life. And so you can start shifting with that energy. So I'm traveling, and so I'm somewhere. I'm in somewhere, USA. Anyway, so we'll see you soon, and namaste.